I found a part of a tobacco. Autism is a communication disability. The more flustered I am, the more complicated it is for me to explain things. The more scared I am, the more difficult it is to organize things. Autism is a spectrum. We're not all the same. You want to use dictionary definitions and wives' tales from 1978. It's 2022. It's not my fault that you're uneducated. When I'm making a video, it's because it's all I can function well enough to do. And you guys get mad because I rant and ramble and so on and so forth. How am I supposed to condense 5 years worth of abuse into 30 minutes? This isn't a fucking soap opera. It's easier to explain in person. It's easier to show it in person. I'll give you an example. The information that's in these files, if someone was here, right next to me, now let's pretend someone's sitting here. Obviously, there's not. Obviously, I'm not hallucinating a person sitting next to me. Well, let's pretend there is. All I got to do for them to see this front page here is open it up. They can see it. They can read it. If they got questions, I can answer them right here. But texting and typing is frustrating as shit. Now, listen right here. This has got evidence that I started to print off because apparently they want paper, this, that, and the other. And fuck, who do I turn it into? All of these agencies want to be wishy-washy about whether or not they're allowed to investigate. They can, and then they can't, and then they can, and then they can't. This is who I'm supposed to go to, and I go to them, and they say that they can. It's not their job. Suicide versus suicidal. Suicide is considered a tragedy. Someone who is suicidal is considered attention seeking. When someone commits suicide, everyone feels bad. When someone is suicidal, everyone feels irritated. You're playing victim. You've got a victim mentality. You just want attention. For what? What reason does that person need that attention? When someone is suicidal, everyone's present. Everyone magically cares when you've committed suicide. They want to talk about what a tragedy it is. When you commit suicide, everyone is present. When you're suicidal, everyone tries to avoid them. When you have cried out for help and gone to people for help over and over and over again to the point where it's obvious that they just simply don't give a shit, they're blowing smoke up your ass, it's not easy to deal with. Especially when it means that you have to continue taking the abuse because you're not going to get heard. And we talked about all these programs that are supposed to help out people like me. Obviously, they're not. Obviously, they are taking advantage of my disabilities in order to justify not doing their jobs. I've never been allowed to speak up for myself in court. I've never been allowed to show evidence. Obviously, I've tried turning this in. The fact that I have to turn the crimes committed against me by people like Robert Warnick and Christopher Kurth, the fact that I have to continue trying to turn them into a department that I'm trying to turn in is an obvious conflict of interest. Any idiot can figure that out. Let's see. Suicide versus suicidal. We're going to continue reading this. When someone commits suicide, everyone wishes they saw the signs. Well, holy shit. They came to you to tell you about the abuse and you blew them off. They didn't kill themselves over the abuse. They killed themselves over the fact that you took away all hope. You let them know outright that you don't give a shit about them, that you are fine with the abuse happening to them, that you simply just don't care. When somebody is suicidal, everyone dismisses them. And you get to hear these people dismiss me. Their excuses. I mean, you guys think this shit's easy? It's not. When you're poor and all your shit is fucking broke down, run down, and old, all of your money is being eaten up. Until they broke the law repeatedly to prevent me from turning in my predators and prevent me from going to court, I went to every single court date. Every single one. And then I was prevented from going to court because I was incarcerated. And of course, then I got warrants out for my arrest for things that it's against the law to put warrants out for someone's arrest for. Failure to appear. Someone cannot be charged with failure to appear if they are incarcerated. Yet, failure to appears from while I was incarcerated were used to yet again separate me from the evidence and prevent me from turning in my predators. We got to break it down by state. We got to break it down by local jurisdictions, different counties. Then we got to break it into different municipalities. Oh, well, this happened in Louisville. We can't do anything about it in Boulder. This happened in Boulder. We can't do anything about it in Louisville. Well, if Louisville sent me to Boulder because I was trying to turn in a Louisville officer, it does have to do with Louisville. They're abusing their power in that jurisdictional bullshit. Scott DaCosta used multiple jurisdictions around here to prevent me from turning him in. Suicide, everybody wishes they hadn't done it. Suicidal, nobody believes they'll ever do it. You blow them off and blow them off and blow them off until there's no hope left. You have robbed them of all hope. They have gone to you for help. Obviously, there are people who I am trying to protect. Not because they committed crimes, but because so many crimes have been committed against people who try to help me. When it comes to autism, the more you talk over me, the more frustrated I get. And the worse my ability to communicate is. When you want to answer or ask a bunch of questions that I've already answered, and you want me to stop everything that I'm trying to explain because you want me to answer your question, I'm doing my best given the resources I got, which is just me. All it would have taken was someone saying, hey, this guy's disabled. He's asking for help. Maybe I should actually help him instead of blowing smoke up his ass. Now, then, here, of course, I got Ted Bollinger on Alicia Bollinger's account. This is what Ted Bollinger was doing while I was at my grandma's funeral. I was at Laura Nelson's. He'd type something to me, and then he'd erase it. And then he'd type something else. And as soon as I replied, he'd erase it. Blaine McCrelius did the same thing. However, the difference between Facebook and YouTube is that YouTube keeps the notifications. So I can still read this stuff. Them and their friends wanted to catfish me, wanted to gaslight me. Some of them wanted to pretend like they were going to help me. They're friends with the ones who were harassing and threatening my life. I had to do desperate things because laws were being broken and people were being killed. And my friends would do nothing but blow smoke up my ass. Wanted to tell me how to think and how to feel. You need to do this, you need to do that. Are you going to help me with those things? Because you are literally forcing me into a situation when you make me do it by myself where it's my word versus theirs, especially in the jails and prisons. Out here, I can record the evidence. In there, it's their word versus mine. They automatically win by calling me mentally ill. The way that you guys are cruel to disabled people, especially homeless disabled people, I just have to let it go. You wouldn't. Oh, here's another one of my fucking nut jobs I got to deal with. This guy calls himself Help with Psychokinesis. I reported you to Hal, all he types. That's rich life of whatever. What do we do to these people? Hide user on this channel. I can't do that in real life. People tell me this stuff takes time, this stuff takes time. I know it takes time, and that's the problem. Is that these guys with the badges, it takes them 30 seconds to trump up a fucking charge and come arrest me. There's a lot of these. Amanda Balehash was my public pretender in one of those cases where I was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai, who assaulted a lot of other people too. I can barely function. Just looking at that pile of shit over there gives me an anxiety attack because it's not going to make any difference without someone to help me process this shit. And a safe environment where I can actually go through and process it. If I have to be afraid of even going out the door, yeah, my communication issues are definitely going to be a major issue. Now, obviously, this is stuff that I can show. This stuff was in the top example envelope. You get to hear the conversation with Marcia Estrada. I'm pretty calm in that, ain't I? It's a one-on-one conversation, and she's actually listening. She is redirecting quite a lot, but she's also obviously aware of much more about this scenario and the police in this town than any of you. This right here, this I can only read to you. And then because I can only read it to you, you can pretend it doesn't exist. Because it's got people's personal information in it. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand why, of course, the shit with Leslie Snell, that she's got her address right on it. It's not like she hasn't lived in the same place for years, right next to the dude who is my best friend for years. But then there's the situation with Natalie Bollinger's case. I didn't even know she was in the state of fucking Colorado. The protection order says not to write her address down. A magistrate should have reviewed that and made sure that her address was not on there. But later on, people got to pretend like I was stalking Natalie in Colorado because of something that the magistrate should have made sure was done properly, and it wasn't. You don't get to just let it go when your entire life has been ripped away. You don't get to just move on when every aspect of your life has been destroyed, and each one of those things prevents you from being able to move on, prevents you from being able to get a job, prevents you from being able to work, prevents you from being able to see your loved ones in person. I don't need your bullshit. Now then they get to talk over me and talk over me and talk over me. And when I say something flustered, well, then magically I'm a horrible person because my words didn't come out right, because they didn't come out perfect. So these guys are literally going out of their way to take advantage of me, and also going out of their way to abuse autistic traits to justify their crimes, to justify not looking at evidence, to justify allowing my predators to get away. And in some cases, like what happened in January of last year, I'm having to go to Scott DaCosta's department. We're not talking about a big city department here, folks. We're talking about a small town. So he assaults me on December 16th, and then I have to turn it in to his department about an assault over a guy that I had already repeatedly gone to them about, and they had done nothing. And then they take my evidence it's going to take time and money to get this thing fixed so that I can show the evidence. I don't even know where to go to get this done. And the cost of fixing it, in addition to the cost of going and traveling to wherever I need to get it fixed, and the fact that I have to worry about any officer at any point in time could pull me over and arrest me for trumped up charges from my predators in Dula County. This is not fucking rocket science. I shouldn't have to go public with this. I never should have. When the abuse started, somebody should have done something. I'm scared and I can barely function. That's not a hatred thing towards you. Um, all right. That guy who just typed in there, calling himself Iron Horse Tate, um, he's one of the people I was trying to get help from. So I asked him earlier. I typed, I have a YouTube channel where I can speak out. If I give you my number, can you call me, text your story, and explain what you were trying to do for me before this happened? All right, very nice. All right, Iron Horse, I am gonna type you my number. I gotta find, obviously, I got phones and phones full of evidence. Um, I'm actually looking for the one that works. Now, one of the things with this guy, he'd offered me a place to stay before. It would have worked before, but it won't work now. Obviously, because the legal crap that I have to jump through here. Of course, being able to go there before would have actually prevented these situations that I'm dealing with now. Does that make him a bad person? No, it fucking does not. All right, let me see what my telephone number is. All right, I just sent him a phone number. Mr. Iron Horse, I just sent you my phone number. I suppose I should stop this video and begin another one called Iron Horse. I suppose I have his number. I could probably call him. But I'm going to need to end the video in either case. All right, Iron Horse, I'm going to start another video and call you up, all right?